Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, we are going to be tackling the question of can you save all the Marines in the barracks on a mission Crow's Nest? So in the previous video, we tried to save that first Marine that gets tossed, but that Marine is unfortunately helpless and hopeless. So we're just going to ignore him, unfortunately, as one of the Marines to save. We're going to take a look at the rest instead. So immediately, we see 3 Marines near the beginning here that are being held by brutes. 1 upside down and 2 straight up like this. And they're all spread out pretty far apart. There's a 4th Marine here that's just chilling here, sitting and watching and not really doing anything. But yeah, so there's three more Marines after this, but they don't spawn just yet. They spawn after the brutes take out these Marines here. 1 gets punched, another gets tossed on the ground, and another gets stomped on by the 3rd brute. And that's how they all die. That one over there nothing happens to him, the one sitting along the wall. But the others, they are directly killed by the brutes. But I'm assuming if you go on ahead and leave that 1 Marine along the wall behind by himself, I don't think he'll last much longer. Now, up ahead, once you get past this part, there are 3 more Marines here. All 3 of them are just sitting right here, basically being held hostage by the brutes, or held prisoner at least. And the brute shot is keeping them there. And of course, if you leave these 3 behind as well, then they probably just die. They don't get up unless you kill enough brutes. Those 4 Marines that are just sitting down, they won't do anything. So if you skip all of them, you don't save any Marines, and you go on ahead, then it's assumed they die. And then later, Johnson shows up here with his own squad of Marines, about him and 4 other Marines. So 5 people total show up here, and they go to the Pelican, and they hop on, and they fly out of there. So that is what happens. And the reason why I'm showing the Johnson thing is because that's actually very important to what happens later. So let's tackle the question of whether we can save all the Marines in the barracks or not. All the ones I've showed you, besides the one that gets thrown. And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. And the reason why I showed you the Johnson thing is because if you do save all the Marines in there, something actually does happen. It does affect the ending to the mission a little bit. So to save the Marines, it's actually quite simple, really. It's easier with co-op with 1 other person or more, but at least 2 people will make it easier. You probably could do it by yourself, but it might be a little trickier because you would need to be you need really good timing. But what you want to do is get a spike grenade at that part of the mission, and by killing the brutes. And once you have a spike grenade, just continue through. So once you're inside this room, if you're playing on co-op at least, you can have 1 person go after the first brute holding the Marine, while the other player, at least the one with spike grenades, they need to be really quick and run as fast as they can to this part between these brutes and throw a spike grenade at the brute holding the Marine upside down, because this brute kills the Marine like the quickest, and it's really hard to reach him in time. The 1st and 3rd brutes, they take their time killing the Marines that they're holding, so you can have the other player just clear them out. By killing them, the Marines are safe and they get released, including the one with the spike grenade. Once he dies, he instantly releases that Marine, and the Marine gets right back up. And the same is with all of them. The 3rd one, if you have a 2nd spike grenade, you could throw it and kill him sooner if you're starting to fall behind a little bit, but you shouldn't need to. He takes his time long enough that you could reach him and then melee him to release the Marine. Once you've killed enough brutes, the 4th Marine over here, when enough brutes have been killed, at least I think like a certain brute has to be killed, I don't remember which one, but once enough have been killed, or the right ones have been killed, he will get up, and then like all the other Marines, they each run to like they're all scripted to run to a certain corner or a certain spot, where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they pull an SMG out of thin air or some other weapon. And the same applies for the last 3 Marines over here. So as you can see already, unlike previous Marines or other characters we saved in the past, sometimes when we save them, they have like no AI after that point because they were scripted to die, and they kind of just do nothing. But these Marines, they actually do have something. They actually do something if you save them, and they're all scripted to go somewhere, pull a weapon out of thin air, and then actually follow you to the rest of the mission. So indeed, you actually are supposed to save these Marines. I know a lot of people just like run by them and kind of like forget about them, or a lot of people aren't able to save all of them because the brute is too quick with one or two of them. But once you've killed enough brutes, then the ones sitting down, they will follow you, and if you, like I said, if you're quick enough, then you'll be able to save that second Marine that's being held upside down by the brute. So yeah, there you have it. That is how you save all 7 Marines in this room, and there are only 7 that can be saved, which could be a possible Bungie reference. I wouldn't call it like an Easter egg or anything, but you know, the fact that it's 7 and 7 is Bungie's favorite number, there could be some, it could be some kind of Bungie reference, but I don't know. I don't know that for sure. It's just could just be a coincidence that there's 7 that you can save. But anyways, once you've brought them all up here, they will still follow you all the way through and help you fight the brutes. But once you've cleared out all the brutes and all 3 waves of brutes, when Johnson comes in, that's when the other interesting thing happens. So if you remember before, just as a refresher, if you don't have any Marines saved, and this is what most people probably see because they don't save all the Marines usually, Johnson will usually come in with about 4 other Marines, so about 5 of them come through and they hop on a Pelican. But if you saved all 7 Marines from that room, well, let's see who comes through now. So now, instead of Johnson and 4 other Marines, it's just Johnson and 1 other Marine. So, as you can see, the game actually does account for you saving all those Marines like you're supposed to, and it does affect the ending a little bit. In fact, it's actually kind of a dark ending actually if you think about it. By saving all these Marines, it comes at somewhat of a great cost actually, because then on Johnson's end, instead of his 4 other Marines, he loses 3 of his Marines, and only him and 1 other survivor makes it through to board the Pelican. So you saved 7 Marines, but you lost 3 on Johnson's end. It's kind of an interesting thing that the game takes into account. But so unfortunately, you actually can't save every single Marine on Crow's Nest. You can save a lot, but then by saving some, others, I guess, are technically dead as a result. But yeah, so there you have it. At least as far as the barracks go, you can save all the Marines in there, aside from the one that gets tossed at the very beginning. But yeah, so hopefully you guys did find this to be interesting, and if you did, make sure to leave a like as always. And just anything else we need to check out or tackle or look into, you know, like I say as always, just let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to look into it. And other than that, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.